shout out to Lee, by the way.
Shout out to Lee. So,
Dude, I can freestyle. Freestyle. Fuck yeah.
So, I guess before we dive in, bro, you want to give yourself a quick intro? I mean, a lot of people already know you, but...
Yeah. Is rolling?
Yeah, it's rolling.
What's up, everyone? This is Tony Villa, broker and owner of Glass Realty, creator of Mayave, investor, family man, just all around cool cat. And I am very, very happy to be on this show today. It's awesome for once to be on the guest side of a podcast, and so I definitely got a lot to say, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, bro. Thanks for coming, making the time to show up.
Of course, man.
Yeah, so you asked me when I started this. I started like a little bit over a year ago, and I did because it was a combination of a couple of things. First, I like to talk about anything and everything, and I feel like, not to toot my own horn, I just read a lot, I research a lot, so I feel like I have an uncanny ability to go a little bit deeper in any particular subject than like the average person. And a lot of people would always tell me that, like, man, you should talk about that, you should have a podcast about it. And so I actually told my cousin about it. Shout out to him, Zenobio Ramirez, and one of the best poker players in the world. Not really though. He actually plays twice in the World Series of Poker in Vegas. But
oh wow.
Yeah, I think his highest was like 44th. I think he lost to Scotty Gwynn that particular time. But anyways, yeah, man. He's like, dude. He says, I'll back you up, man. Like, I'll just get all the equipment, and so that's when it started. And I think this would be like episode 23 right here.
That's a lot of episodes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of podcasts, and I've been invited to some before, and I look at the pedigree, and it's just I say I'll call you back. But on this one, again, a shout out to Lee for hooking this up. On this one, he spoke highly of it, and I was like, yeah, it's time. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of listening, and so I'm definitely ready to talk. And I think I got some stuff that people might want to hear.
Shoot, amen, bro. And that's what I want to do, man. You know, go a little bit deeper than what people may not know, and add value to their lives by hearing what it is you got to say. So, I mean, go ahead, man. The floor is yours. What is it? I know we want to talk about real estate, but I mean, you could start off in any particular area that you want.
No, I'm here right now, open book, man. I mean, I pride myself in, just some people may say I go a little too far in sharing the sauce, but I mean, anything you want to know, I'm here. I've been doing real estate for 11 years. A little bit prior to that, I was still doing real estate before I got my Realtor license. And but before I really started, I was delivering pizzas. I had the double degree in philosophy and English from UT Pan Am. So for all y'all young bucks out there, that's UTRGV right now. I was at UT Pan Am, and I graduated. I was one of those kids that took like 8 years to graduate. I think 8 years, and I graduated, and then I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And I think a lot of people get hit with that when they get out of college, that they just they realize that the real world really don't care about degrees unless you're in like a STEM field or something like that. And there's a lot of more awareness now about what degrees are worth, and that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I got the shot to sell real estate. I took it, and I mean, here I am. Like I said, it's been an amazing journey. Every day is a new day. You never know what's going to be on the other side of that phone. Today I'm here with you. Yesterday I had the pleasure of meeting with this gentleman that was a part owner of 7,500 acres of land in North Edinburg, where they're going to be doing some big moves. And this guy's asking me if I can help move 3,000 acres of land in 3 months, and it's about $30-40 million worth. And I'm just there sometimes just thinking to myself, like, wow,
I'll buy some.
what a journey. They want to sell it all one lump sum. I told them,
That's
I
different.
told them deadpan serious. I said, we gonna try Elon Musk, and he kind of chuckled, but not too many people I know running around with 30 million right now that aren't some big cats, and so we'll see what happens with that. But
Yeah, so you touched on a lot of things, man. There's some different angles that I could go with, and we could, I mean, we're in real estate, you're in real estate, you've been in it a long time, so I mean, we could always circle back to that, but you touched on something that I think is very interesting, and I think it's very relevant to what we're about to get into. And I think when you think of real estate or any particular career or endeavor in terms of the foundation or the infrastructure required in order to get into that, because if you don't have some type of framework of understanding in a particular realm, there's always, the learning curve is going to be harder for anything. And what you said was that school was almost, I mean, in the way I interpret it, like obsolete, man. It's for nothing. You know, let's elaborate a little bit on that. What's your opinion of school? Because me personally, I've taken my kids out of school. I'm homeschooling them. My experience in career in school and stuff is that, man, it's obsolete, man. Like you said, unless you're a doctor, a lawyer, somebody where you really need that degree, it's almost obsolete. And even more so now in this day and age where pretty much AI is replacing almost anything that you can do. I just spoke with one of my good friends. He just got his degree in college, and he says he pretty much uses AI to write all of his papers. So it's like, what are we doing? And then by the time you get to, let's say, a senior in high school, an average senior, I'm not talking about, let's say, the ones that are taking extra curriculum and extra academics and are graduating with associate's degrees, but I mean, even some of them. But a lot of these high schoolers, man, practically speaking, in terms of what can they practically do in the real world, they don't know videography, they don't know photography, they don't know drones, they don't know graphic design, they don't know AI, Photoshop, they don't know marketing, they don't know the fundamentals of marketing, they don't know SEO, they don't know web design, they don't know, I mean, and that's, I'm talking a lot in tech, but it could go in the blue collar, in the trades too. They don't know welding, they don't know construction, they don't know development, they don't know comps, they don't know terms like cap rates and stuff like that. Like, I feel like they have no foundation for success in the real world. And what the sad part is, in my opinion, is that they've just gone through 12 or more years of their life that they've invested. Like, my learning curve, you could pretty much put anything in front of me, and my learning curve is going to be anywhere from 2 to 6 months, 6 months top. I could probably learn calculus in 6 months. You got these kids in school for 12, 13 years, and they graduate as seniors, 18 years old, and they don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I think honestly, school, shout out to teachers. I know it's a hard fight that they're fighting because they're part of the system, but I know a lot of good teachers out there that go above and beyond to try and break through that system. But school, 100%, school is outdated. The concept of school right now, it was made back then, formulated the system and structure to go and create employees, and it's very good at that. Everyone has heard the phrase like, they teach me calculus and geometry, all this stuff, but they don't teach me how to do taxes. They don't teach me how to live a life of just independence. They want school for that intents and purposes. It's amazing because it does exactly what it's meant to do, which is make yes men. And generationally, you're speaking. I'm 36, and I still feel 21. But everyone has to remember me. They say I'm older. They say don't go to spring break. You're just stranger danger. But I'm 36, so I look at it from a different lens because now. You're right. AI, big game changer. I'm invested in NVIDIA because, again, 5-10 years from now, things are going to be so much different, the landscape of things. And it's almost like when you speak to different people on different generations, they've been sold different dreams. People my age, women, they were taught, hey, you should be independent. You should get a job, you should do all this stuff, and they did a great job at that. And as a result, they've got them in the workforce. 60, 70 years ago, you could have a family on one income, but now you can't. And that's just the way that the system is, and you know, again, this inflation and monetary system, there's a whole, I mean, like I said, this stuff is just so far reaching, but for the kids nowadays, and I have a baby, she's 8 months, homeschooling sounds amazing because you can teach them what they need to. When you evaluate the lives of great people, like Michael Jordan, people like that, for instance, they were very intensely trained by their parents for one specific task. And whether or not that could be borderline child abuse back then and stuff like that, that's neither here nor there. But what you can do nowadays is you can mold your children into being the person that they want to be. And
Absolutely.
School doesn't do anything but that. So school has nothing to do with that. I mean, the socialization aspect is the only thing that I would say school has on homeschooling. But you can also be socialized through outside groups and things like that. The internet has done a great job of increasing awareness of programs and things like that. And so it's very easy to connect with other people on the same journey that are waking up. And I know it's a cliche term, but they're getting out of the matrix. They're realizing, hey, this thing of me working 30, 40 years for some company, or you know, for minimum wage, or you know, for low wage, this is not it. And I think that people are waking up to that. You know, you're talking about the kids, the younger kids. I've employed a lot of kids recently, and I call them kids, and they're adults. I give them their due. They're like 19, 20 for social media manager. These people are actually very technically proficient. They know how to make the videos and all that stuff. But one thing that I've realized and I've learned is that they're soft. They can't take criticism. They start crying. They just ghost you. And then the second thing is they have no bearing on real world constraints when they're trying to implement what it is they do. And what I mean by that is that I'll go and do a video with them that really, you know, maybe should only take an hour. They take 5 hours. And, you know, they say, and I say, you took 5 hours to make a video that should have taken 1. Yeah, but it looks great, they say. Yeah, it does. But you're not taking into account the reality of the situation, that there's actually money, there's time. School doesn't teach them that. School doesn't teach them how to think critically in that way. And so, I mean, that's big ups to you on the homeschooling. I'm going to be thinking about that for my child if I have that ability. But yeah, man, I agree 100% with you. At school, philosophy actually helped me. I mean, that's one degree that I was a little bummed when I got it, because I realized I was going to probably be a teacher or work at Starbucks. Nothing wrong with that, anyone out there, but that's the truth. But one thing it did help me to do was to think critically, to go on, like you said, like you do, delve a little deeper, ask why.
Yeah.
Why? You ask why to question 5, 6, 7 times, you start getting very deep.
And that's exactly what Dean Graziosi says, 7 levels deep.
Oh yeah, I mean, and see, I'm a big why person. They say, well, this is how it goes. Why? Well, why? Why does it have to be that way? And so I brought that to real estate because all through my life, I've always been a disruptor. And it's funny, I made this comment to someone earlier that yesterday, the day before, I said, you know, my whole life in school, I was always being punished for being a disruptor, being disruptive. You know, let's do it this way. No, you got to do it this way, and, you know, etc. And now when I'm in the real world, I get rewarded for it. And so it's really crazy to think that if that would have gotten beaten out of me, that, you know, I don't think I would have been so well equipped, because this world is definitely changing very fast. And it's something that is it's an aggressive world, and you got to fight every day for whatever it is that you're working for.
100%.
A lot of people, they don't have, a lot of people know what they want, they just don't know how to get it. A lot of people would rather be complacent and I think that's just kind of drilled into them. And it's also part being scared and stuff like that. But for me, when I brought it to real estate, I had always worked commission jobs, like waiter, things like that, and also, you know, just being a hooligan, other things as well, sales related. And so I was very used to eating what I kill. I don't like the idea of waking up in the morning and knowing that I'm gonna make $100 today. I'm gonna work 8 hours, and this is what I'm gonna do. To me, that doesn't hit. I love the excitement of real estate, and that's what drew me in and kept me in, because I was able to, like I said yesterday, I had a meeting with this guy that's probably worth at least $100 million in the lobby of the hotel room. I would have never had a chance to be with this guy talking about business. And again, it's just every day you just put forth with your best effort. And I don't think that the schools really equip kids for that. Not
Yeah,
at all.
no, absolutely. And just to, touch on a couple things that you said, I heard, I don't know what his last name is, but that guy Myron, he's an entrepreneur. He's on TikTok a lot. I forgot what his last name is, but he speaks on that, and he says, school basically doesn't teach you how. You talked about efficiency and these kids to doing a video in 5 hours instead of 1 hour.
Oh.
And you're in school and you got work and stuff, and it's always like, hey, that bell rings. You're talking about clockwork employee type of mentality. It's like, that bell rings, okay, take it home, we'll finish it tomorrow. People get routine and they create a habit of doing that, and in the real world they become an average type of individual. The driven people, the accomplishers, if you've ever known about it or heard successful YouTube videos and stuff like that, they talk about time blocking. Some of the most successful people talk about time blocking, and what that is that they block off a part of time, and they don't come out of that time block until they finish what it is that they wanted to accomplish within that block of time. And so the real world is the most successful people in the real world are highly efficient, and school kind of teaches you just routine, and there is no priority on efficiency in that. In this last year that I've been homeschooling my kids, at first going into it was kind of hard, because I thought, man, what kind of curriculum am I going to teach them? Sometimes there'd be days where I'd be busy, my wife had things to do, and we wouldn't be able to actually be teaching them reading, math, and all that stuff that they actually do in school, and we felt a feeling of like conviction about that. But over time, what we found out is that what our kids are picking up on, they're actually teaching themselves, and it's referred to now, I've seen some videos and stuff like that, it's referred to as unschooling. But basically what it is that, if I could describe it in a nutshell, or try to describe it, what it is that you're taking these kids out of a routine and a curriculum, and you're allowing this transitional time frame for their brains to become rewired, so where now they start becoming creative, and their brain actually starts thinking again, like, man, what do I want to do? So now over a year's time, what I found is that my kids have actually developed a lot in terms of life skills, respect, communication, and we're talking about socialization. And I've heard that frequently, that, hey man, you take them out of public schools, there's going to be socialization issues. I guess it's kind of yes and no, because they're not socializing with kids at their age, but I feel like it can still be beneficial that they're not socializing with kids their age, because I see that kids come out of the public school system, their social habits are actually bad habits. They pick up on a lot of bad social habits, and they're habits that if you're like that in a professional environment and you have those bad habits, it's going to be a negative for you. It's not going to be a positive. And so I feel like my kids are very well communicative, very well assertive. They're discerning. They know, I'm sure, and they're not perfect yet. They haven't got it down, but they know. I've already been teaching them when and when not to speak, what is relevant to say and what is not relevant. Like, you don't just want to be popping off at the mouth at any little detail, because it might not be relevant to the overall conversation. Those are things that I'm teaching my kids young, and I've heard a lot of I've heard a lot of feedback from adults that say that, hey man, your kids are really well behaved and stuff. And I feel like those fundamental life skills, see, you're 18, 19, 20 years old. I've found, and I in my experiences with young adults like you have, is that it's very hard to rewire those kids' brains to develop those life skill habits.
Your brain's already hardened at that stage. I mean, you can still grow, and stuff like that, maybe they're gonna need to take some mushrooms or something. But but you know, like I look at my 8-month-old daughter, and I think she's a genius.
Mhm.
And I think that the way that schools block these kids off by age, which is just such an arbitrary number, I think is such a huge disservice, because kids are so amazing. They can be taught to do such amazing things, and their brains are so pliable. To go ahead and just kind of just discount them because they're 3, and I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna have them driving a car or something like that, but to say this kid can't do something because they're 3, or they don't have the capacity to learn because they're 3, just because of the age, I think it's huge disservice, and I think it's not in line with what I believe as far as kids and people are capable of. I think people are capable of amazing things, and the thing is, this is just the limiting belief is one of the biggest things that stops them, whether it comes from inwards or from the community, from what they're being fed. Oh, you're too little for that. You got to try in 2-3 years. My wife, I remember, told me that I think that they wanted to jump her from like 1st to 4th grade or something, and they eventually did it, decided not to. But if my child has the opportunity, I would do it. I want my kid to do the best they can. I mean, I don't, if my child, if she can academically stand with kids that are older than her, that's fine. To me, age is just a number. It really is. I've met some amazingly smart younger people, and I've met some really immature 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
And so it's just, again, it's input output, and I think that you're doing the right thing. Actually, that got me thinking on some stuff now.
Yeah, thanks. And I mean, just again to kind of reiterate what you already said, is that, you know, like a disclaimer, I'm not speaking about teachers. Like, unfortunately, a lot of teachers agree with what I say, and they're caught up in a system. It's the system that I'm speaking again. It's not the teachers or how they teach or what they teach. I know if a lot of teachers had the opportunity or the option, they would teach differently than what they're kind of forced to teach within that system.
A lot of teachers are idealists, and they go in there with the best intentions, just like everyone, and then the system kind of just batters them down.
Yeah.
And you know, then some of them rise above it, some of them just kind of end up going with the flow, but that's life, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I agree.
Yeah. So I guess to bridge it, you know what, let me just say one last thing that
Yeah, man, speak it.
it's this is what I feel like another thing the public school system does that's bad. It really eradicates and alleviates the long-term pleasure reward system in the brain. There really isn't that, because a lot of kids, me personally, and I feel like a lot of kids are the same, they find no purpose in the way that academics and education is presented to them. I just heard my little niece yesterday. She was talking about how the best awards, they get bikes and they get awards in school for attendance, perfect attendance. And she says, I was one of the highest in my class in terms of grades. And she says, and all I got was like a little card. But the kids who just come to school, they get bikes and stuff. And that's because, I mean, you and I both know that it's because, you know, they get government funding based on attendance and stuff. So they want to really incentivize that.
It's not, the incentivization system is a big reason the schools are all messed up.
Yeah, but this is what she said. She said, and this is coming out of the mouth of, you know, I think she's 10, a 10-year-old. She says, what am I even doing it for? And you know what I mean? And it's crazy. And even though a lot of kids don't voice it, that's exactly what's going on in their head. What's the purpose of what I'm doing? When you take away the purpose and a person doesn't see a purpose for why they're doing what they're doing, you start, if you're not careful, and if they're type of individual, some people can push themselves and find and do good in school because, let's say, their mom wants them to have good grades and that's their purpose. But for people that don't have that push from their older person and they lose that purpose, they lose the motivation, their grades are going to start to do bad. And if they grow up and be an adult and they become that type of individual where they haven't experienced the pleasure that is associated with the long-term reward because they pushed and pushed and pushed in it, pursuing this long-term purpose and then accomplished it. I mean, the dopamine of Jordan Peterson talks about this. I mean, the dopamine release that you get, let's say, when you took your real estate life, for example, this is just an example. You went through, I don't know, 2-3 months of studying, took your real estate license, got that real estate.
1 month.
Huh?
1 month.
1 month.
Online.
Yeah, online, and then you put
Champion
in
school.
Yeah. So I know sometimes it's online, and there's different time frames that people accomplish this. So that's pretty impressive. You did it in 1 month, but you know, you get the license, you link up with a brokerage, you go, you pound pavement, you beat bushes, you find your first clients or whatever, however it is that you do the open houses, and finally you get that first sale, and bam, man, that 3,000 or whatever it is hits your bank account, and bam, you're flooded with that dopamine that's associated with that long-term gratification. Kids don't experience that, is what I'm saying. And if you don't experience that, you're gonna want to fill it with short-term gratifications, which most of the time is unhealthy. The iPads, the games, the BS, the substances, you know what I mean, the partying, and you get stuck in that rut. You might not ever get out of it ever in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. Look, I mean, as a young kid coming up, I was very entrepreneurial, and there was just never an outlet for that. And so I started exercising that in the wrong kinds of areas, and commission sales, and I'll just leave it at that. And you know, looking back, obviously, yeah, you learn a lot of lessons, and I would never change those lessons because they made me who I am. But for my kid and my kids and my future kids, I definitely feel like there needs to be more opportunities for these kids to be able to exercise that in a productive way. And that's really why I'm big on ownership of business, ownership of your own ship, because when it comes to it, if my child then says, hey, you know, I want to help out, she's 10, 12, 11, 13, I'll give her a job.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put her to work doing something legitimate, something that's worthy of, you know, to give her that rush and give her that pride, because, you know, I mean, I was 10, 12, 11, 13, I wanted to make money. I would do the schoolwork, but I wanted to also make money, interact with adults. And so, you know, providing that kind of platform, I think, is important. And that's, again, just part of why I think that real estate is so amazing, because, again, it changed my life. I was delivering pizzas again, and you know, I say that as not a knock to pizza delivery or anything like that, but I mean, you know, I went from delivering pizzas to the people that were selling the land to meeting with the people that were selling the land on a different note. And it's just an amazing industry. And a lot of people don't know this fact. I think it's still relevant, is that like 9 out of 10 self-made millionaires are from real estate. A lot of people don't know also that Arnold Schwarzenegger, before he became big in the movies, he was obviously a bodybuilder, but bodybuilding didn't pay that much back then. He paved the way for the current people, and even nowadays it doesn't pay that much. But he was a self-made millionaire from real estate.
Yeah, he talks about that on his documentary.
Before he got into the movies, and people they're astounded. Yeah, he was renovating buildings and stuff like that, and real estate allowed me to exercise my entrepreneurial abilities and to hone them in a positive way, and to create a lifestyle that not only accommodated my brain the way I work, but also rewarded me for it. I'm not built for 8 to 5.
Me neither.
I can't do 8 to 5, and shout out to the people that can. That's fine. That's no knock. It's not a knock. It's just that everyone's brains are different, and I think we're going back, kind of just circling back to the school comment, that one size fits all for the school is one of the reasons that, you know, you got a lot of kids slipping through the cracks. And your family member that was, you know, a high achiever, you know, she's probably likely, just because she's so smart, likely to not have to go to school all the time. Mm-hmm. And for her to not be rewarded for her academic merits. and see kids, because you know you're eating glue that are going every day. Yeah, it gets a little disheartening. And you know, obviously later on you'll see the bigger picture. But for a kid, see someone get a bike when you don't get a bike, but you're smarter than them, that sucks. What kind of message does that send to you from the world on the rewards that you get from things? And so that's why I love real estate. I love commission sales. I've got the utmost respect for people like that, because you eat what you kill. And man, I love to kill. I love to go out there. I love to knock on doors. I love to make connections, because again, it's just, to me, it's just exciting. I get that dopamine release, man. I get that dopamine. I don't get the dopamine when I have done very briefly. I've done 8 to 5 jobs. I've done those jobs. They don't give me dopamine, because I already know I wake up Monday morning. I know it's going to be 9 to 6 or 9 to 5, and there's no excitement.
Yeah.
It's not, you know. And then people start, you know, I don't know, people like me, they get bummed out, and you know, you start playing lottery and gambling and stuff like that because you want that release, and living through TV and stuff like that. I don't know, man. I tell my friends. He messaged me the other day. One of my friends, he said, "You're gonna be playing Grand Theft Auto or something like that." I said, "Man, my life is Grand Theft Auto now." Like, and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Man, I wake up, I go wherever I want, I do whatever I want. It's amazing. I mean, the stuff that people are doing now. I'm not committing crimes like that, but my point is that the world is a video game when you make it like that, when you view it like that. And real estate has been a platform that's allowed me to do that. And that's why I'm very big on extending my hand to people that want to learn, because again, I do feel like the world is changing very fast. And you know, for people that can run with it, I said, let me show you the tools. Let's run together. Let's get this, because you know, going back to like the caveman days, one person can't take down an elephant. You need like 3 or 4. If I was to work with that gentleman that wants to sell 3,000 acres of land, I can't do it myself. I need other people, and that's why I opened the brokerage, and that's why I have people that help me out, because. You know, I like to use a lot of analogies. I can only reach a fruit so far, but if I'm on someone's shoulders, then we can get the higher fruit, the juicier fruit, more money. We can do it. And again, there's a lot of operations running around here that, you know, shout out to Coldwell Banker, some other ones too, and they've done that. They do a good job of that, and you know, just elevating people and helping them to put them in the positions that they want to be in, and giving them the tools. It's real similar to like this. I tell them, look, I'm like a music label. I'm signing you to my label. You're the artist. My job now is to help mold you as an artist so that we can best present you to the public, so that they can go ahead, and if they like you, they like you.
Right.
You put your image out. I'm big on being yourself. I'm big on social media, all that stuff, because it lets people try before you buy. I made my money on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's because people watch me. They may not like the house, but they stayed because of me.
Yeah.
Touring the video, because they would say, well, I want to see what Tony thinks, I want to see what he thinks about the market, etc. And I've had people that tell me, they say, I've been watching your videos 3-4 years. And I say, I'm like, first of all, I'm very flattered, of course, because I mean, I love to put out the content. I just love to talk, and I love to share information. And then it's so amazing, because I'm doing this from the luxury of my own home. I'm doing this on my own time. I'm doing this on my own, you know, cord, and then to have that turn into a sale later on. I mean, real estate it's a beautiful industry.
It is. And you know, you touched on something, and if anybody's watching out there, and let's say they're driving down the expressway, they're going to their destination, and they might not get to the end of this video, since you already mentioned it, I feel like it's never a wrong time. You mentioned that you want to mentor some people. Is there a platform, socials, or how can people get a hold of you if they want to be mentored by you here in the Valley, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Well, I even have some people that want to start a glass realty in Houston. I might do that. But just give me a call, 956-331-9329. I'm very accessible. I answer my own calls. I'll tell you if we can work together or not. I'm big on that. I'm big on that. And I'll be honest. There's some people that come to me and they say, hey, look, I want to do this. And I talk to them a bit and we hang out a bit. They do it kind of like a ride along. And I said, look, man, I'm sorry. I don't think that you got it. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I don't think that you got it. And it is what it is, because real estate right now is going through a lot of turmoil. 7 years ago, commissions were a lot higher, and you could really make a lot of money doing that. But now, because we have a prolonged recession, and I do believe it's a recession, regardless of what the government says, the housing market is definitely in a decline. And you've got a lot of realtors now that, for instance, there's this one, when we had the COVID rush, there was so much money coming in. Houses were selling so fast. And then if you were a buyer back then, you remember there was like 3% interest rates, stuff like that. It was flying off the shelf.
When you said COVID rush, is that the beginning or right in the middle of COVID?
During the COVID,
Okay,
when the money started getting pushed out. What I was going to say was that there was just so much out there that a lot of people came in thinking that it was always going to be like that, but it wasn't. And so it's very hard now because people, what I was going to say now, I remember this lady, nice lady, pushing some CLS. I don't know cars too much. I got a Honda Accord. I'm one of those guys. If I get a Lamborghini, I might kill myself driving it. She was in an amazing $150,000 Mercedes. I saw her recently opening up for a listing that I had for lease, and she was in a Kia. And that just showed me, again, things happen. It is what it is. But that just showed me just how much the industry has changed and how much it's strangling people. And so especially right now, I tell people, I said, look, you got to have a lot of diversification. You got to have a plan coming in, because the days of just easy money, long gone. And there's just, it's such a crazy environment. But cream always rises to the top. That's not to say real estate's dead or anything like that. It's just that you really can't expect to come out there now because you look like a movie star, or you got a tight dress, and the money's just going to be thrown at you. It doesn't work like that nowadays. And so helping people understand that and training them to actually be sustainably efficient and productive is my number one thing when I work with people. Because again, real estate changed my life. And so as a kind of a pay it forward thing, I love to put people on. I think that the industry is very it is a competitive one. And so it's very rare that you get people like that, like myself, that will go and put people on. But I'm very big on loyalty and teamwork. And as a result, just the people that have worked with me or currently work with me, they can only say that. There's, they might say, oh, he's a perfectionist, or he's very eccentric on things, but no one can ever say that I've ever led someone astray or that I've led them off a cliff, because again, that's just not me. I've got other ticks, but setting people up now.
Yeah, when I came in as a realtor, from an outside perspective looking in, I thought that, like you just mentioned, that being a realtor, that it was going to be not easy money, but for anybody that has a very basic sense of drive and entrepreneurial spirit and stuff, I thought in that sense it would come pretty quickly. I thought I'd be making great money within 6 months to a year, and it didn't work out like that. And I think that's probably the experience that most realtors are starting to have. And I don't really have a very in-depth understanding of the industry in total, but from what I've seen, from what I've heard, from what I've followed and researched and looked into, there's been a lot of shifts in the industry that have caused things to change, right? I think one of them, and this is probably a little bit longer back ago, but you know, when websites like Realtor.com and Zillow came in and stuff like that, and the opportunity for an owner to pretty much list their own home and do for sale by owner, and now and this is just examples. Now more recently that the law they passed, and now a buyer has to negotiate the commission with the client that they're representing on the buyer side and stuff like that. Those are shifts like that. And I remember when I was an early realtor where they were talking about statistics and how many realtors there are in the valley. There's like thousands of realtors in the valley.
There's a couple thousand. There's a couple thousand just with the GMAR one, and then there's just a couple more associations. Yeah. But it's going down. And the thing is, I'll say this: it's kind of like a forest fire. What's going on right now? A prolonged forest fire. People might look at the forest fire and say, "God damn, that sucks. That's crazy. That's bad." But you know, I think you use the term everything's cyclical. In nature, the forest fire occurs to go ahead and get all the trash out,
All the dead wood,
so that new life can form. And that's what's going on right now. The forest fire is it's washing out all the bad actors, all the inexperienced agents, all the people that thought that it would just be easy money. And the ones that are prospering, the ones that are staying put, are the ones that have established themselves as actual sources of knowledge, actual realtors. Because you're wearing two caps as a realtor. One is a salesman and one is a fiduciary to the client. There was a lot of people that were just wearing the one of the salesperson. And they're coming in pushing people into all sorts of deals, and some of them even lying about, these are what the numbers are. And you know, everyone almost knows someone that has a story like that, a horror story. And as a result, these people are getting fleshed out, and I love it, because they don't deserve to be realtors. They don't deserve to help people do what is likely going to be the biggest transaction of their life. These people, they don't deserve that responsibility. And it's pretty interesting to see that, because again, the low barrier of entry, I got my license in a month. I think you have to do like 2,000 hours of hair cutting before you can get your license to cut hair.
Yeah, 1,500.
1,500 to even cut someone's hair. And that's just someone's hair. It grows back in a couple weeks. I just cut my own hair, just as an aside, but you're telling me that you can have a realtor get their license in a month and then get someone jammed up in the biggest transaction of their life for hundreds of thousands of dollars? It doesn't make sense. And so that's one thing that the low barrier entry, you get out as a realtor, walk out into the world with your license. I remember the first day I stared at my desk and it was empty desk with the phone, and I said, what the hell did I get myself into? I said, I don't know the first thing about what I needed to do. And you know, a lot of people, you know, you figure it out, you work it out along the way. But yeah, I mean, the low barrier entry, if you look it up on a Google search, a realtor is somewhere in between a used car salesman and I don't know what else, as far as terms of respectability, because there's been a big loss of that because there's a lot of pushers. And those are the ones that are getting flushed out. Those are the ones that I all day I rail against, because I'm all about honesty, integrity, transparency. My brokerage is named Glass Realty. It's a play on words in multiple ways, because glass, you can see through it. I want people to understand that the transparency is there, the honesty, integrity. I'll tell people to walk away from a deal if it doesn't make sense. I've lost more deals than some people have ever had possible deals, because I say, look, this is not going to work out for you. And of course, I could have just directed them and done that, but I know that I would have been setting them up for failure. And to me, that doesn't, I can't sleep at night from that, knowing that this person's going to get foreclosed on in 2 years because they're signing themselves up with a lender that doesn't have their best interest.
Right, maxing out their DTI or whatever it is.
All sorts of little number games and stuff like that. And right now you're seeing that, especially now, because we're coming off the top and now we're at the bottom, nowhere near the bottom actually, of the housing market. You've got people that bought homes for $500, let's just say as an example, that are now worth like $350. And you know, these people were kind of promised that the homes would be $600 now, or that they'd be able to refinance. And they say, fall in love with the house. There's a popular realtor, and I won't name names like that. He says, I don't know if he says it anymore. He shouldn't be. He says, fall in love with the house and worry about the rate later. You can always refinance, and that's just so irresponsible. This is a top salesperson, a salesman. He coming from a car world where you know how aggressive they can be in the car lot. And again, that's cool at the end of the day, however you want to sleep. But if you're telling people just to not worry about the financials and fall in love with the house, that's not responsible.
No, it's not responsible. And you know, I was a car salesman. I had an experience in the car sales industry, and I mean, there's some good people in the industry and whatnot, but I mean, the reality is that I feel like the people at the top tiers and the management in the industry, man, for all intents and purposes, man, they're psychopaths, and I mean that literally.
You have to be
to
be able to do that and go home and just act like everything's fine.
Yeah.
Set someone up for failure.
So by definition, they lack extreme empathy for another individual. I've seen stuff where I don't even know if it's legal, man. I'm talking about like doubling up, you know, car seat warranties and stuff like that. Like, can you even do that? Can you double it up to make more on the front end? I don't know, right? I'm not a lawyer, but it's just like, it's crazy, man. And what I'm saying is connected to what you're saying is you take that mentality and you go into a real estate industry, and like you just said, man, you're helping somebody make the biggest transaction of their life. I mean, that decision right there is going to resonate into eternity, man. Their wife's going to live there, their kids are going to live there. The outcome of that situation is going to affect their whole family and stuff like that. Who knows, potentially for generations, right? Because whatever equity they could have built in, that they could have reinvested into their family 5-10 down the road, that's gone because you got them into a bad deal. Or if they do foreclose, they're not able to get out to it because they don't have that healthy equity in the particular property. I mean, it's insane, and it is irresponsible, you know, and it should not be done. And but on that note, let's say somebody is listening to me right now and they're like, hey Tony, man, let's say they're a consumer. I hear everything that you're saying. How is it that I, as a consumer, a couple of things that I should look for in order to differentiate and make the distinction, or ask in terms of a question or whatever, so that I can know what might be a good realtor, somebody who can really guide me and a bad, not bad.
Someone that will take a look at your finances and tell you the real deal. Someone that will tell you and take you to a lender that will tell you the real deal. And you'll know it because you'll sense it. These people should be able to go ahead and say, look, maybe you should rent right now. Maybe you should wait a bit. Maybe you should work on your credit. Not, hey, this is the house, you got to sign now. They've got 3 other offers that may not exist, and you got to do it right now. You'll feel it. And it's just working with people that have been in the industry for a while. Google is your friend, like Jay-Z said, if you want to check up on someone. There's people that have complaints against them that if someone would have just Googled them, they would have seen all the stuff that was crazy about them. And just working and getting to know someone that's going to help you, again, it's the biggest transaction for many people, the biggest one they'll ever make in their life. And they're giving it as much thought as buying a flat screen TV, because they're giving it to the professional all the responsibility, and the professional may not be equipped to do that.
Yeah.
And so you gotta check the pedigree. You gotta check who's behind them. That doesn't mean that you can't work with someone that's new. That doesn't mean that. I help new realtors all the time. But what I tell the realtors to tell the clients is that, look, tell them that you've got someone behind you, and that's me, that's overlooking things. And that because they're underneath my brokerage, and the brokerage has a set of values that we adhere by, that you get your back. It's not just you, it's me. It's other people watching to make sure that you're not getting set up in a situation. I had a client recently call me. He said, I need you to rent my home. I forget what what price he wanted, but I ran the comps and I was like, well, it's about $1,500 a month you can get. He says, no, my mortgage is $1,800, I think. I said, well, why'd you buy that? Well, because they said I could rent it at that price. Any realtor or lender like that would have done the comps at that point, like honestly, that wasn't trying to just push the sale, would have seen that, obviously. So the person ended up having to rent it at a loss and hope that they can refinance now later. You're hustling backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, you should have brought me in the room prior when the sale. I would have told you to get out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Man, I've done a couple of flips myself, and I actually recently formed an LLC with a couple of partners of mine with the intention of getting some investment properties, whether it's a DSCR on a long-term rental or whatever, or just a flip or whatever. I mean, I was open to anything, and I'm kind of new, so I really didn't know what to focus on. But my point is that looking at properties from an investor perspective has totally added a different dynamic in my mind in terms of the approach towards a house, because when you look at it as an investor and you're a realtor, you're able to put on those shoes of an investor in terms of a good investment, and you're able to say like, hey, so now if I'm a realtor, which I am, and I'm representing a client, like you said, the situation with that individual, I don't know if they sold them on a duplex or fourplex or if it was just a single family. But they're like, hey, this is a good deal. Maybe they ran comps and it was right at maybe, let's say, market conditions. But as an investor, you're gonna know like, hey, look, we got to get under market conditions for this to be a really safe investment for you, because you don't know what the market is gonna do 1 month from now, 30 days from now. It could be a totally different situation. You're not gonna have that. So yeah, man, I understand 100%.
I like that you said that, because doing that for myself and family members has been one of the key things that's helped me to improve my customer service. I tell people this and I mean it. I sell your home or your property like if it was my own, and when we're buying, I spend your money as if it was my own. And that's very important, because you give a kid $20 and you see them at the mall, they go spend it on some random stuff, and you're like, this kid just wasted the money. But if that kid has his own $20, he might be a little bit more conservative. He might buy something that a little bit more value. And identifying those things, those places of value, and those angles are important, because when you're servicing clients or yourself, you want to know what you're talking about from a place of confidence, because again, you're the one that comes in the room. And I always tell my agents, I said, if you're not confident about what you're doing, you need to step back and get more information or whatever, because you're the one that they're calling to be confident. You're the doctor. Mm-hmm. You don't look at the patient and say, well, what do we do? Like, as far as these, they're coming to you with the problem.
Yeah.
And so right now with the market the way it is, for instance, I'll tell you this, we just got this deal off for myself. We were able to buy a new construction home. It was on a good discount. I got a great deal. Shout out to Ashley at Westwind Homes. She's a home sales specialist. And I got the home. I bought the home cash, because what I wanted to do was offer it. It's in San Juan. I know that San Juan right now it's hard for people to get loans like traditional. And I put it up for sale with a slight profit already on the price, of course, and then owner financed it. And so we actually just signed the owner finance contract yesterday. And I think that home affordability and access to homes is one of the biggest things that, as a realtor, I'm trying to improve, because right now what we're seeing is people are not able to buy homes. And so by acting as an intermediary, it was a win-win, because one, the buyer was able to get a home that they wanted. It was a new construction home. It's not like it's brand new, never been before lived in. They got it actually less than if they would have bought it through the company, because I stacked a bunch of bonuses and stuff like that. And then I win also, because then I got my money in play at 11%. And everyone was okay with it. And again, going back to being upfront about things, I was up front. They entered into the deal. It wasn't like, hey, come down this alley and sign these papers, and they know what they're paying and they know what it is. And you know, over the 7 years before it balloons, the home costs $250. Over the 7 years, we're going to be grossing about $170,000 in interest.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting about, I don't know, maybe 80% return on your money. Then you're gonna get the principal back, but everyone is happy.
Right.
And so identifying those points is where I'm at right now, and helping people it's just from education and just understanding these things. Because again, you're talking about like Zillow and stuff like that. That's another thing that I'm doing as far as helping the real estate community, is that I have this website called myave.com, which is like my key. Llave is Spanish for key. And just real quick, last year Zillow made like $1.5 billion in advertising revenue, advertising space on content that realtors and all those people put up. You know, they go and put up photos and then they sell ad space and etc. That was a deal that was made a long time ago in a room that I couldn't even tell you, at some upper level meeting by the people of the National Association of Realtors, which I think is a failing organization, by the way. And so anyway, this website is a redefinition of this agreement, because it's a 50-50 advertising split with the website and the content creators. And so what that means is that the people that are posting on this site, and you don't need to be a realtor to post on there. Builders can post on there. Anything like that is free. You don't have to pay dues or anything like that. You get paid in the form of an online currency that you can then spend on the site, or then go ahead and just withdraw it in cash. And so it's mind-boggling for a lot of realtors, because they're used to paying to play, but in this you're getting paid to play. And so the site just launched June 1st. We're in version 1.0, and the goal is over the next 6 months to do what the associations have failed to do, which is to unify Hidalgo County all the way to South Padre Island. And the reason they haven't been able to do that in the past 20-25 years is because there's 3 or 4 organizations, I think, in the middle down the line. And if they were to consolidate, let's say there's 3 CEOs right now. What incentive do these 3 CEOs have to consolidate when there's only going to be 1 position? And so by bypassing that, myava.com we're foregoing that whole politics discussion, and we're creating a user experience that is unparalleled. And so I'm turning this into a way that realtors can make additional money. Not just realtors, home builders, for sale by owners. Anyone can post on there. It's www.myave.com. And trust me.
How do you spell Llave?
Llave is Llave.
Okay.
And again, like the example I use is this. If I were to list the White House for sale tomorrow and put the pictures up and everything like that, it would get billions of views, I'm sure, right? I wouldn't see a penny. I wouldn't see a penny from that. The websites, Zillow.com, Homes.com, they make the money. They keep the money. Myave.com, what that's saying is saying, look, that's not right. The person that posted it should get a portion of that, and they get 50% of it, not only from putting it up, but also the residual views. And it's a very interactive website. We've got a lot of sponsors waiting in the wings. We've already got people already advertising on there, and it's definitely going to be a game changer, because this thing can scale through the whole country. But right now, I first want to just go and show that I can do what people have deemed the impossible, which is get everyone in the lower valley, Hidalgo to the island, on one site. And it's going to create what it is, a better and more robust database system where information is going to be removed from a paywall. Because again, content creators, especially in this era, expect to be paid or compensated. I know I am when I put reels on Facebook. but real estate agents have been one of the most stolen from categories, because again, we pay hundreds of dollars for these photos, and Zillow.com gets to advertise these homes, and then they keep the money.
That's crazy. I never thought about that, man. And the reality is as anybody could tell if they've just had their eyes and ears open, is that we live in an age of decentralization now, and all the platforms, technology is there for the taking for anybody that wants to, take, the capital and the eyeballs and the market share that traditionally has been in these centralized entities, and to decentralize it and take some into their own hands. The opportunity is there. So that's awesome what you're doing, bro. And let me ask you in a more specific question, from the way I'm interpreting in my mind, and who everybody is listening, they might be interpreting the same way, so just for a little bit of clarity. But from what I'm hearing is you take some pictures, you post them up on Zillow. Zillow, I guess, some way is able to track how many eyeballs those pictures are getting, and Zillow just keeps all that money for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Because they provide the sandbox.
Right.
It's like Facebook. Facebook, they make money off the stuff you post.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Zillow has that ability to get these listings because you post a listing on the MLS, which is an offshoot of the association that's affiliated with NAR. There's an agreement that listing gets fed to Zillow.
Right.
And that's a long-standing agreement that realtors, they're not aware of, in the sense of I never agreed to that. It was just existing already.
Yeah.
And so what this site does is instead, it's basically the same exact thing, the same exact experience, except you're getting paid. And not only that, you don't have to pay for access to the database.
Man, that's awesome. And you get paid in proportion to how much traffic or eyeballs your content gets?
Yeah. So if you post a hot home, you're gonna make money. You get money just for posting the home. And again, you can then use the in website currency to recreate services like Zillow, like promote yourself as an agent, promote the property, things of that nature. Or you can just withdraw it for cash. And I think this is revolutionary because, again, why would I want to? The idea is this: if I get a call about my property and I say send me the link, why would I want to send you the Zillow link when I can send you the Mayave link and I know I'm making money from it? I know that I'm enriching realtors. I don't know where this money goes. It went to Zillow.com. They don't care about realtors. They were trying to remove realtors during the COVID rush. They were trying to do the iHomes and all this stuff. They don't care about realtors. I care about realtors, and I want realtors to make money. Imagine instead of, July 1st, I got to pay $200 to be a member of the association. I have to pay $200 just to access their database because that's all I work with them on. Imagine if you got a $200 check instead for your work.
Yeah.
You're flipping the paradigm on its head.
That's
because
powerful.
I'm telling you, there's nothing but politics along that line. And NAR right now is so weak because there's, I think, almost $1 billion in damages that they're going to have to pay because they've been doing a lot of politics the wrong way and losing lawsuits. People are tired of it at this level, in the ground level. The realtors that are actually trying to get their money day to day, this stuff, they're not going to the state dinners and all that stuff. A lot of that money gets contributed to political action committees, and without getting too in depth and all that, that stuff's a big waste of money. It's like donating to some charities where only 10 cents of the dollar you give goes to the actual charity.
Oh yeah.
And it's what we're creating is a open database that is accessible to anyone and can be posted by professionals. And so we vet these people, and so of course we're doing the regional thing first, then I want to scale it to Texas and then to the country. Because again, it's a very simple idea. You're just cutting the realtors in, you're cutting the builders in. And the idea is to create a comprehensive database that we can then go ahead and draw information from. A lot of people don't know this, but the value of the database that the association offers nowadays, compared to 7 years ago is a lot weaker, because the internet has created so many opportunities now for builders to just, and this is totally fine. This is why I was saying, going back to why real estate is the party's over. It's a lot harder, because builders now can directly market to direct to consumers through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. They don't need the realtor. Back then, 10 years ago, you needed the realtor. 15 years ago, you needed the realtor.
Yeah.
There was no internet like that. Zillow it didn't exist. Back then, they would literally, what they would do 15, 20 years ago, and this is true, they would have to go to like a Luby's and get like the Lord of the Rings kind of table with like 20 people around there, and they'd go down the line and say, my house at 1015 Cedar Avenue is now $100,000, $10,000 drop. And the realtor would have to go and, they'd have to go and, the realtors there would have to go and keep that log, because there was no centralized internet. The internet didn't exist like that. And so back then, realtors really earned their keep. It was like, you wanted a house, you really did need to find a realtor. But now the internet has created an atmosphere where now the consumers come to me, they know more about the property before I do, because the information is out there.
Yeah.
And as a result, the value proposition that we can go ahead and claim has been challenged. And that's why they lost a bunch of lawsuits. That's why they've lost almost $1 billion in settlement damages so far, because the old guard, I don't call them boomers or whatever, the older realtors that were like, no, 6%, 6%, 6%, they hadn't caught up with the times. No one told them, hey, because these people are doing more of the work for you, you should be paid less. You just need to work smarter and in a different way. They're working to conspire to keep the commissions up at a certain rate, just because that's how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
And so, just getting all that out of the way, that's why builders, they don't deal with realtors a lot of times. They just say, if you bring me a buyer, okay, yeah, I'll give you a commission. But back then, they had to use a realtor, because there was no other way for them to get seen.
Right.
Because you were that dude, you're saying, oh, that's Tony, 20 years, that's Tony, I need to know, he knows all about the homes. You come to me now, I know about homes, yes, in the area in general, but I don't know about each home that's listed. They're all being popping up on the internet and stuff like that. I keep educated on that. But the builders, though, what I'm getting at, now their information on the home and what it's sold for, it doesn't go into that database nowadays. And so when you're drawing inferences to make an educated guess, to go ahead and say, okay, well, what can I do on this deal? Some neighborhoods are not even, you can't even find the information on what they sold for. You can't.
Yeah.
Back then you could. And so this site is attempting to go ahead and create that incentivization by saying you're getting money for it, it's free, to go ahead and create a more comprehensive database. And actually what is funny is that some people think that you're giving away the information hurts the market. No, it helps it, because then people can make better, more informed decisions. And from these more informed decisions, you're gonna see more business being done. You're kind of putting the light back on, the shadow, because what good is it for me to make a bet on a home if I don't know what the homes are selling for in that neighborhood?
Yeah.
If I do know now, it's more likely that I'll make a bet, because I can say, okay, look, this information I can deem to be reliable.
Yeah.
And so it's something that's going to be coming out. Again, you've always got to stay fluid. Every industry faces its own challenges, but that's one thing that I'm very passionate about, especially at this stage in my career, is creating situations for realtors, not just myself, for realtors, builders, home buyers, sellers, for them to get what's rightfully theirs, because there's a lot of hands in their pockets that I think that are just, it's time to get them out, and the courts are starting to reflect that. I was saying 4 or 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I started selling homes for 4%, and I faced such a backlash because everyone was doing 6%. They would ridicule me on the internet. They would eventually it culminated in them conspiring on an open forum Facebook group, and I know if you're watching this, y'all know who you are, where I had to bring action against them through Trae. and the NAR, because they were trying to go and blacklist me because they're just trying to keep the prices up at 6%. But again, going back around, I was telling everyone, I said, look, with technology, I'm leveraging technology to be able to do more work in less time, and I'm passing that savings on to the consumer. I blew up off that. And people were, I was getting calls from brokerages in San Antonio that wanted to mesh with me and things like that. People were coming. I alone as one realtor, I had 70 listings at one point. 70 listings because people were they were realizing, they said, you know what, you're hitting it on the head. Like, we think 6% is crazy. You're doing 4% and you're doing drone video, walkthrough videos, things that people had never seen before. They're like, what is this? It's a drone. What are you gonna do it for? What are you gonna do? Well, it gives a better sense of the home. What's this guy in with this big camera? Well, he's a professional photographer. Back then, they were still using those little casinos or whatever, or the phone pictures and stuff like that. They crucified me. And that's fine, because anyone that always tries to break through, make progress, you go through that. And I'm not a stranger to that, because I'm always pushing the envelope, especially with, like, right now, Mayave. And funnily enough now, 7 years later, the average commission rate is 4%. Drone videos are standard. Walkthrough videos are standard.
Yeah.
I was just ahead of the curve, and I always knew that. And I always knew that you're gonna face friction on that. And that's just, again, just being flexible. It's one of the things that I'm good at, and pushing it, because again, as a realtor, you only eat what you kill.
Yeah.
And the people that were always, I was, believe me, the realtors didn't like me. A lot of them still don't, and that's fine. But the one thing they can, because I was taking food off their plate. I was suddenly pushing a question to the room where they would ask them, hey, you know what? Why can't you do it for 4%? And, you know, then they have to have an answer for it. There were some brokerages that would have classes on how to combat Tony's sales tactics, literally teaching people how to combat what I was doing, how to, like, rebut them. But you can't fight the tide. Efficiency, information, it wants to be free. Information and technology hand in hand, like the same. Eventually, if it was not me, it was going to be someone else that was going to come along and do it. And so it's very interesting to see now the landscape. I feel like, and I was not, of course, the first one to ever do it, but in this area I really was. I see my kids. I see them as my kids. They're doing walkthrough videos, podcasts now, the drone videos, professional photography. I mean, it's great. It sucked back then because, you know, I was on no one's Christmas list. I wouldn't get the invites and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're getting coal in your stocking.
But at the end of the day, I'll tell you this, and this is 100% what I believe. Hate it or love it, I would tell the agents, y'all are not the ones paying my bills. The clients are. And I said, the clients love me. Because that's the one thing that none of the agents could say, is that I've never done anyone dirty in a deal. I've never led anyone astray. In the 11 years I've been doing this, I always give them the real deal. Like I told you earlier in this podcast, I'll walk away from deals if I need to, or I tell the client to. Because again, I say I'm not gonna be that guy. And you know, that's starting to, you know, I've got a lot of prestige. I know a lot of people in the industry, and they know me, and you know, hate or love my styles and tactics. That's one thing that I really promote. It's just like, hey, look, you can not like that, but you know I have integrity.
Yeah. Well, it does seem like you're a major disruptor, man, and you know the bird at the head of the flock is the one that faces the most resistance. But it does seem like you're breaking that wind for the ones that are coming behind you, and making a way for realtors coming in the industry to really flourish in what you're doing. And man, I'm all for the decentralization. I agree to 100% with everything that you're saying. So let me ask you a question. If there's a realtor out there and should somebody still try to get their real estate license?
Absolutely.
If they
they're
do,
passionate.
what should be their approach or their strategy or what?
They need to get with a broker that will train them, that will cultivate their image, that cares about them. One of the things that was the worst thing that happened to the brokerage community was the introduction of flat rate brokerages. And mine is right now a flat rate brokerage just to stay competitive. But I give more than that, because back then, 5-6 years ago, it was about like an 80-20 split. So if my agent made $10,000, I made $2,000. Now you've got a lot of brokerages that just say, pay me $200. But the thing is that they're not giving any training. They're not giving any oversight. The broker's usually not on site. And you can tell when I get the contract in from another agent that's from one of these brokerages, man, the contract is so nasty, it's dirty. And it's just, it's sad. It's not doing them any help, it's not doing them any favors, because then they're going to get someone like me, who I represent my clients, of course, that I say, okay, let's go. I see it like stepping into the ring. They said there was this one file, the lady didn't put the non-realty items addendum, and the appliances, which means the appliances weren't conveying. My clients, I told them, take the appliances. It was about $5,000 worth of appliances. And so when they closed, the lady called me angry, said, where are the appliances? Where are the appliances? I said, you didn't put the form. So what do you mean? Why did what? I just blah, blah. I said, listen, I'm sorry, you didn't put the form. Contract is law. It was just that simple.
Yeah.
And if she would have had someone overseeing her, someone that would have told her that if you want the appliances, you need that form, it would have gone a lot differently. But it's not my duty when someone steps into the ring with me like that. My duty is to my sellers. I said, look, we're going to be able to keep these $5,000 worth of appliances.
Man, funny thing, I actually made that exact mistake when I was new, and nobody really told me different, but it had said in the listing that appliances and all that was included. It was probably like $3,000 worth of stuff inside that house, and I didn't know to put that document either, and they did the same thing to me. They took it.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I feel for you. I felt for that lady, and she learned, I'm sure, to definitely use that form. But that's what I'm saying. Someone that comes into the industry, you need to find someone that will care for you, that doesn't just see you as another body that's just going to give them $200 a transaction. Someone that's not going to just throw you in the water and see if you can swim. You want someone that's going to teach you how to swim in any kind of water. Someone that's going to teach you how to make a boat, if you will. And that's how you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
You know, I get all the time people, and I'm cool with it. People that I don't do deals with, they call me, they ask me questions about, well, what should I do? I give them advice because, you know, I'm not a hater like them. But at the same time, I also tell them, I say, look, you know, at some point you got to think about where you're at. Because, you know, you should really be asking your broker this. And they say, well, my broker doesn't answer and all this stuff. And I said, okay, well, you know, I'll give you a little game. But, yeah, you want to be in a situation that they care about you.
Okay.
And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
Now, considering, let me ask you another question. Considering the kind of the economic state of the real estate industry in general, you know, interest rates at whatever they're at right now, somewhere around 7%. The fact that you're saying that the value of a property now isn't what it should have been or isn't what it was projected to be at this point in the industry. Selling a home, there might not be, let's say, a lot of positive equity in a home. And for that reason, you know, the seller has to keep it at a certain price point, but it's not a price point that any particular buyer wants to get it at. And so there it is. Do you think it might be a time for realtors to start using some creative finance strategies, you know, like for example, maybe loan assumptions, maybe subject twos, or, you know, any other type of creative strategy, whether it's owner finance combinations, balloon combinations, just anything in that category. I mean, I hear you could even buy properties as an LLC. You make the seller part of the LLC, and I don't know the legalities of it. I think a real estate lawyer has to be involved in it and stuff like that, and make sure the lender is on board and is fully aware of everything. But in the event that the buyer defaults, the articles of organization in that LLC is that all property and ownership reverts back, or that seller gets full ownership back of the LLC, and the property is within that LLC, so that, you know.
I'm all for creative ways to get it sold. I would just caution, yeah, you definitely want a lawyer involved on stuff like that. If you're a realtor, you're trying that kind of stuff, attaching your stuff to stuff like that, you better know the ramifications, and the seller should know as well. But yeah, I mean, being creative right now is what's keeping me afloat. Right now, I'll even list a property for 2%. I have a buyer rebate program right now where anything over $1,500 that I get as a buyer rep agent, I just rebate back to the client. And that's again in line with my feelings that home affordability is something that is ever increasingly distancing itself from the average American, and that I want to be able to help people get into the home. And so, you know, the property pays me $7,000 on a commission, well then they're gonna be getting $5,500 before the home closes that they can apply towards their closing costs. And the funny thing is that sometimes people say that, Tony, that doesn't make any sense, like why are you doing that? Well, it actually facilitates the ability for some deals to even happen. Because otherwise then they would have not had the money. So it's like, you want the $1,500 and help a family, or do you wanna just walk off? I'd rather take the $1,500 and help a family. I helped a family a while back, and they were able to move from an apartment to a home. It's a great feeling because you're helping a family. Like you said, this is generational kind of stuff. They're not renting anymore.
Yeah.
And I took a little less on the deal, that's fine, but you know, in a roundabout way, they've referred so much business to me since then, that anything like that I would have made off that one deal has already tripled itself, quadrupled itself. And that's the funny thing about life and that kind of principle. The more that you kind of give stuff away, the more comes back to you.
You know, on a personal note, Tony, I did some time in prison for a felony back when I was 19. It was a theft. It was actually aggravated robbery on a technicality, just to be fully transparent. I don't mind talking about it. I'm not proud of it or anything, but I am proud of the fact that I turned my life around and came here and had to apply to be a realtor twice because I got rejected by Trae the first time for that reason. I had to submit referral letters and all types of stuff and all my record. And anyways, the point that I'm getting at is that when I got out, again on a fully transparent personal note, with like $380,000 in my bank account that stemmed from a lawsuit that was filed against a doctor, which it's actually in the law books now. It's pretty popular. It took 13 years, went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court on 2 appeals. We won on the 3rd appeal, for medical negligence against the death of my sister. That ended up going to my mother. My mother ended up passing away from cancer when I was 5, so it was going to go to my dad. My dad was caught up in some legalities, criminal history, etc. The lawyer said, hey man, look, when they're deciding how much money to award you, they're going to want to bring up this. You might get awarded more if you just pass it on to your son. So that's what he did. I was about 12 years old at this time. I got in my own trouble. I was supposed to get it when I was an adult, which was 17, but they maxed it out to 25, put it in a trust. I got out of prison at 26, and there it was, $380,000 sitting in the bank account. The point that I'm getting at is that I got out, I had matured psychologically and emotionally, but I hadn't matured in any business sense. And so I had all this money and didn't know what to do with it. I had rededicated my life to God, started walking the straight and narrow, so I didn't have any vices. I wasn't using it on drugs, alcohol, partying, girl, any of those things. And still, that money went so quickly, bro. And the point, that I'm getting at is that I remember one particular time, man, I was gonna buy 5 acres. This was on Midway Road in Westaco, right before you get to 18th Street, where the 18th Street Park is if you go further east. And I remember asking one of my uncles, they were selling it for $80,000, 5 acres. And I remember asking one of my uncles, and I mean, if you're not familiar with Westaco, this is probably, now they're building a lot of fourplex neighborhoods out there. This is probably about a 2-minute drive from the expressway. I asked one of my uncles, I said, hey Theo, is $80,000 for 5 acres a good deal? And he was like, man, well, I mean, it depends, this and that. I offered the lady $50,000 cash. She declined. She ended up selling to somebody else for 80 acres. The point I'm getting at, drawing to now, is that now, and funny thing is, Gomez Construction, I think. His house is actually 2 houses down. He has it listed for $650,000, just literally the lot over. But my point is that now, about 1-2 acres now in that same area down the street is going for about $150,000 an acre, and I had the opportunity to get 5 acres for $80,000 back then.
Yeah, and I mean, you learn from those things though. You learn the opportunities, and when to strike. You gotta learn to trust your gut, and I'm sure that you learned that too. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about life, is that you gotta. I'm the kid that always touched the stove. I never really. I touched the stove, man. I don't learn from people saying don't touch the stove. I touch the stove, and then I touch it again, and then I touch it again, and then I say, okay, I learned. But one thing that's done is hone my instincts, so that I am always on point. And once you learn to trust your instincts to the point of you go all in on it, like your friend, the poker player, you'll start capitalizing on those. So I mean, yeah, I mean there's a lot that my mom sold at one point. I think she had it 60,000 or something. I forget what it was. And she wasn't educated about it. It's cool. It's just, it happens, and people take advantage. The next time it sold was for $1 million.
Wow, and she had sold it for how much?
60,000.
Wow. Did they fix it any type of way? Push appreciation on it by doing this or that?
It was just the way that land appreciates, and the way the development of McAllen, the way it went. Back then, it was just way out north, when people were like, "That's crazy, it's dirt road." But now it's North McAllen.
Yeah.
It's where the AutoZone is on 10th and Martin. And back then, when she sold it, there was nothing there. It was dust. You know what I mean? And so you learn from that kind of stuff. You learn, and one thing that I want people to understand is that there's always opportunities. Having someone that's experienced to help spot those opportunities is very imperative to getting those to getting to your achieving your goals. Whether you're buying real estate, you're going fishing, and like with a guide, you're going hunting, you got a teacher, anything like that. You want to rely on the experience of others, but also too, you want to trust your instincts, because I mean, life is going to teach you one way or the other. And I feel for you on that. I mean, it's an opportunity missed, but again, that to me would just kind of embolden me, because I've passed up on a lot of opportunities like that too. But that should just embolden you to go ahead and keep finding more.
Yeah, it has. And the reason I bring that up, and the thing that I want to say is this: if there's anybody out there listening, and just to add to what you said, because you're right, opportunities will always come around again, and they're always out there. For me, and I think this is true for a lot of people, how you are positioned in your life, you might not be able to take advantage of another opportunity that comes around if you squander the positioning that you were in previously, and you don't have, let's say, the liquidity, the capital, the skill set, or whatever it may be to take advantage of that opportunity. So what I'd like to tell them is the fact that if there's somebody like you that's sitting here and they're watching this video, or there's something that like me, who has had my own similar experiences, but slightly different in the details of our experiences and our stories and stuff like that, who is willing to help somebody out there who doesn't have that scope of competence or whatever in real estate or whatever it is they're trying to do, man, reach out to Tony, reach out to me. You know what I mean? Make that connection, have that conversation, because I wouldn't want anybody to be in that same situation I am now with the family, to have had that opportunity to take advantage of something or to do something with their money, with their capital or whatever. And I don't want anybody to miss it the way I missed it. And like you said, I'm here now and everything is good, and opportunities are coming back around and stuff. But that was 10 years ago. Who knows where I'd be now? So if I would have made better decisions back then. So if anybody out there watching,
but I mean, I agree. But our journeys is what makes us who we are, and we should seek to draw strength from them. I know you have. You got a good mindset. You're very eloquent. You're very well read. knowledgeable about things, and I think that's half the battle. And now it's just enacting it. And yeah, just for the people out there listening, like he was saying, you definitely want professional help, especially in real estate. But not just someone. You want the person to fit the bill. So yeah, give me a call, or give him a call, and the information is free, and it can save you thousands. It could change your life, or if you don't, it could ruin your life. So you definitely want to take this with seriousness. I mean, just life is going to come at you, and there's a lot of people that have experience in the different areas of things, and utilizing that experience and then combining it with your own is the best way to go ahead and advance in life. Because I know if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely want to, you're looking to grow, and yeah, take it from me, you're going to fail a lot, but it's about how you get back up and the lessons that you learn, and resilience, and doing things, adaptability, doing things more efficiently. That's what it's about. And yeah, the opportunities will come back. I should have bought more Bitcoin when it was 15 grand last year. I only bought so much, and now it's about 61,000. And so there's always going to be opportunities. And one rule of thumb that I kind of just rely on is always do the opposite of what everyone is doing. If everybody is rushing to buy, don't buy. You should probably be selling. And of course, this is a generality. And so right now with the market, I tell people this is a great time to buy because no one is buying, and sellers are itching to get the home off their back. They'll give you concessions, they'll give you all sorts of great deals. But believe me, once that first rate drop comes and the mortgage rates really drop, it's going to be back to you fighting against 20 other people for a home, because that's what everyone else is doing. And so keep that in mind. This is just some experience that I've seen.
You're touching on something, a good point there, and I think it's really important because I feel like there's a lot of people out there, consumers, is what I'm talking about, that, I had somebody recently ask me a question. They said, Trae, man, why am I going to pay a realtor or pay you a couple of $1,000s when I could just go directly to that seller and do it themselves? And I said, look, it's the competency of a realtor, and it's the fact that by law we have this fiduciary due to our client. And I said, we're going to be able to walk a home, and I mean, we're not inspectors and things like that, but we have experience to where we're going to be able to know and negotiate to where we could potentially save you $30,000, and you're over here tripping over dollars to pick up pennies, trying to save pennies and paying us a couple $1,000s when you might trip over $30,000 that we could have negotiated that home lower because of our experience and our competency level.
I see it all the time. I always the Mayweather fight, I forget who it is, I should remember his name. It was about like 8 years ago. I'm getting old. Where it was the one where everyone was in the ring and they thought the fight had stopped for a bit, and then he just knocked him out.
Ortiz,
there you go. And then it was like, protect yourself at all times.
Yeah.
I see that all the time. People, they want to go toe to toe, sell the home themselves or represent themselves because they feel that certain level of pride or unnecessariness for a professional to accompany them. And it's like you're stepping into a ring as an amateur against potentially like a Mike Tyson. And going back to that appliance issue, you're not gonna get any punches pulled. Like they're gonna give it to you because you're just like, okay, you want to play the game? Let's play. I got something for you over here. If they want to do that, they say, you want to sell that yourself? Are you sure you don't want a realtor? No. Okay. Before you know it, you realize you sold a $100 bill for $60, and then that person that bought it from you is selling it for $100, and you're wondering what happened. Well, it's because you didn't call a professional.
Yeah.
Or you called the wrong kind of professional. You called a salesman.
Yeah.
And just it is what it is. It's not anything wrong about the other person. Like I said, they stepped in the ring willingly. But again, there's a lot of tools and resources, like he's saying right now, that you can utilize, and many of them are essentially, I don't know if we can use that phrase, but essentially you don't pay I can't use the phrase free, I think. Essentially, you don't pay anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, home accessibility right now is very easy. You just really need the right team, and you gotta really want it. The people that are just saying, oh, I can't do it, a lot of them, some of them can't because they don't have the money or the credit. But a lot of them that are saying they can't, it's a self-limiting belief because they don't have the right team around them. And when use the cliche, the teamwork makes the dream work. And that's definitely something in real estate. Getting the right team around you, the realtor, the lender, that's the start. And you're gonna get the keys in your hand or the check that you deserve.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got the right realtor and the right lender, you could pretty much probably make miracles happen. But yeah, we'll put your information in the description of this video, my information, etc., so people can contact you, even though you've already given your phone number and stuff like that at the beginning of the video. But I guess we'll close it out. Are there any closing things you want to touch on?
Just understand that the markets are cyclical, and what goes up must come down. And so right now, for sellers, I would definitely advise, if you can, to rent. The rental market is as strong as ever, and come back around in a couple of years when the sales prices are a little higher. But if you're a buyer right now, is a great time to buy because there's a lot of good deals. And then again, just to kind of just sound like a broken record, give us a call. If you're really interested in learning about real estate from me as an agent, or to buy or sell or lease, I even property manage, give me a call. It's free to talk to me, and I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I love the RGV, and I really feel like helping people is one of the things that I'm put here to do on this earth. And at this point, I'm definitely looking to do that on a more personal level with transactions, and then also on a larger scale with things like myave.com and the way that I have my business services and run my brokerage. So, I mean, it was a pleasure to be on this show, man. I can honestly talk about this all day. This is my life. This is what I do. I live and breathe real estate in all types of forms and fashion. And I definitely know that because I'm living the truth that real estate can change your life. And it's because it's changed mine. And so definitely just keep that in mind. And, for any realtor out there that's struggling, give me a call. Let's do some business. Let's talk. I'm open book. Again, I want to elevate people that can be elevated, that want to elevate themselves. And, I hope this podcast is a start on helping you learn a little bit more.
Amen. There you have it, guys. Hit us up. But,
yeah, thank you again, man. This show's awesome, and maybe hopefully a couple months, half a year, or something, you have me back on, and I'll talk some more. I love talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, like, comment. You got some questions, comment it in here. Maybe he can respond directly, right? If he's following, or maybe I'll relay the comment.
I'll be following. This is a great setup, and again, thank you again. You're a nice host. It was very nice experience.
Thank you, brother. My pleasure. See y'all. Like and subscribe.